Welcome to Late Night Riders. I'm Gretchen. I'm joined by my grandma Debbie and my mom Kristen. And it's our 1 year anniversary.
Yes, it is.
Yay.
Yep.
1 year.
We made it.
You did it, Gretchen.
Whole year, Gretchen.
We didn't
Good
think
job.
it was going to happen at one
You said
point.
we are starting it at
That's
the
right.
first week of January, and we were like, we're not ready.
You did it.
You did
Good
it.
job.
We did it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been really exciting. We've talked to some really cool people.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to get like a taste of our podcast, if you haven't
Yeah.
listened before, we have a best of part 1
Mm-hmm.
and a best of part 2 that kind of highlights the two halves of our year.
Yeah. I think we really learned a lot, though, from just like doing podcasts, period. We had not
Yeah.
done them before. And that was like starting off, we were like,
Oh, some of those first episodes just
I hate
feel
to kind of have
so
people
slow.
go back and look at some of those. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But we've gotten used to it
We've
now. Where
grown.
we can
Yes.
just talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and just talk
Yeah.
about things we do and talk with the people that we talk to. We've had some wonderful people.
You know what the coolest thing is that we have made so many connections through this with lots of
Yes.
people.
Yes.
Where you started this business, you know, you never were really into showing or anything, so you just love horses, and so maybe we don't know all of the things that are going on in the horse world, or maybe we don't know certain horse people, but we, you know, or certain like disciplines, you know, what they're doing, but boy, has it been exciting opening that world of what people really are doing, and
Yes.
people who are, you know, trying out for the Olympics, or, you know, people
So many
that are
facets.
that are doing
So
really
many
awesome
facets.
programs, or
Exercise, you know, just people. What was the we had like the people that did the gymnastics and things.
Yeah,
I mean, all kinds
vaulting.
of things. Vaulting. There you go. Thank you. I'm so lost for words, but yeah, all kinds of things. Writers, people who make things, all kinds of things. Yes.
We definitely talked to a variety of people. What was one thing that you like learned that you can just name off the top of your head?
so mine was particularly with Stacy Westfall. When we spoke with her, I had a specific question. I had fallen off of a horse when you were just a baby, Gretchen, and after that I got scared because I was a stay-at-home mom, and I thought, if something happens to me, what would I do? And I never got back on the horse, and that was, to me, a big mistake. You know, I should have gotten back on. I didn't, but I did ask Stacy, like, what should I do now at this point, you know, when you're scared to get on the horse? And she said, you just go out and you go and pet the horse. You go walk the horse around. And you do this for like days upon days upon days until you are ready to get on the horse. And then you get on the horse and you get off the horse and you walk the horse around until you get to the point of where you're bored
Slow
with
and
it.
easy.
Yeah, and then you
Simple.
can do it, and you're finally able to get back on, and you've taken that negative away from, you know, because you put the positive experience into it.
Just
That was
made
huge
it
for me.
natural
Yes,
instead
she
of
did.
making it like difficult.
Like, how simple. How
Very
simple.
Right,
Yeah.
but she broke it down enough, because sometimes we don't want to break things down.
Right.
We think we have to do it all
Do
at
it
one
right,
time.
yeah.
And you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me, so I have two. One's not like very equestrian, but I did not know that park rangers can pull you over. Who knew? Who knew they had the ability to
wasn't
do
sure
that?
about
That's
that either.
right.
but
I've
I
just always
respected
sped
them.
past them.
That's right.
Now I know.
Yeah, be careful. That's right.
But the other one was when we talked to West 20, and they talked about, you know, this is how your
Yes.
saddle should fit.
Good, yeah.
And like you might be having problems because
Yeah.
your saddle's not fitting correctly.
many good
And
people.
that's a good
Right.
tip from her.
Yeah. I think I was really taken aback by Bernice Endy, Lady Long Rider. Her miles and miles and miles that she'd traveled across the United States, back and forth on horse, and is part of the Long Rider group. Her outlook on life is just so at such a slow pace. She had slowed down and looked at life in such a way that she was so wise. Her wisdom came through with everything that she talked about. And her one of the things that she said was that just to, you know, you do what you do the best that you can. Don't aspire to be just like me, to ride like I do, but do what you do the best that you can do. And she also posed the question of what do you want to do? And that was a big thing for me, of course, because just with the company, I knew I had the calling to just keep on going and doing, you know, what we do. But she just made it so much bigger than what I had thought it was.
For our listeners who cannot see what's happening, Mimi is trying to climb up on the table, so she's
Hear her
very.
little
She
paws.
really liked Bernice, and she's licking licking her lips into the microphone.
She is always on the podcast.
She
You might hear
is.
her every once in a while and wonder, what is that sound?
Yeah.
It
It's
is
Mimi.
Mimi.
She's our little fluffy potato, as Mandy says.
Yep.
Our 6-pound fluffy potato, our little dog.
So let's talk about the year and just go through first couple months of the year, January, February, March.
Lots of rain. Lots and lots of rain. And a lot of people who just couldn't do anything because of the amount of rain. We saw pictures and things from people from other areas with flooding, just unbelievable flooding. And we were quite concerned about it. And so the first quarter of the year, we kept on hoping it would stop raining, and it didn't. It just rained, it seemed like. So it affected our hay locally. Some areas
we even
it
had
did.
very, very cold winter compared to years past.
Just drug on.
It was negative. It felt like negative 17 or something one day when we were here. And
We
it
had
was
frost quakes. I had never witnessed a frost quake before, and witnessed a frost quake, which was just unbelievable. You can hear them for miles. They, it's actually when the rain goes down into the ground, it freezes, and then the ground, it actually shatters, so to speak, and it sounds like a huge loud boom. It shook the house, and it was amazing for it to be that cold. So we had some pretty wild weather.
The fires.
Mhm.
We talked
Yeah.
to
I was thinking
Michelle
that too.
remind us about the
Goodness.
fires that
Yes.
she had near her, and
and
that
then
was
the flooding
scary.
from it because they
Yes.
had rain right afterwards.
Yeah.
And nothing to keep, the
Right.
mud up, basically.
Quite a spring, if you could call it a spring, basically. And finally, it seemed like once we were into spring, we started to, even though we hadn't had a spring, once we were almost through spring, we started to have spring. We had a late spring, and then it started in, and then business started to kind of, like people able to get out and do the things that they wanted to do with their horses were able to, and so forth. So we went from there. So
we also launched our More Time to Ride campaign around the same time.
right, Ramm gives you more time to ride. Right.
Yeah, talking about our products and, how they're very low maintenance. I think multiple, because I went and took photos of multiple farms in the South.
Yeah.
Yes, you were
And
gone for a long time.
everyone had said, I just tighten it maybe once a year, maybe, and it's good. Specifically about our flex fence.
Yeah, you got to see it like down south and all around several areas. Right, exactly. So, and then, with this traveling that we did and so forth, we've started to meet a lot of influencers and people that we've just really been so blessed and fortunate to be able to share with them in their lives, and really start to make a difference with, I think, our company and also our podcast, the community that we're forming that we know.
Yeah.
Also locally, the people that we knew too.
Yeah,
So,
wonderful people locally that we worked with. And then I think, a shout out to Erin from
Silver
Oaks Farms who
Yes.
took over our stories.
There's a highlight on our Instagram if you want to watch that.
Yeah, and she has our fencing, and that was fun for us to see, how it works for her in Utah. And then we also have Stable Style, who we've done
Raquel Lynn.
a promotional deal with. So if you're not following Stable Style, you might want to follow her. We work with her actually. So she gives out some good promos.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
And Raquel occasionally blogs for us as well as Erin, which is
Such
awesome.
nice people.
Yeah, yourhorsefarm.com.
Yeah.
How has that come along?
Oh my gosh, we went viral at one point. It was crazy. And it wasn't a post that I ever thought would go viral. It was the definition of your heart horse.
Yeah, it's a big
Just
thing.
took off, didn't it?
Yes. Beautiful article.
Who would have
or
known?
beautiful blog.
Yeah.
But you would think that some of the more informational ones would be the ones to go viral. But that is on our blog. You can look it up. I believe it's called Your Heart Horse, and it's by one of the Emilys. I think it's Emily Fott, but we also have an Emily Griffin that writes for us.
Well, I will say
Writers.
that is the thing, like we said earlier in the podcast, we are just horse people, your average horse people. That's really what it comes down to. Our horse people are passionate about their horses, their heart horse, their, whatever you want to call it. That's where it's, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You love your horse.
And we have so many people that we're in contact with across the United States that it doesn't matter. There's so many disciplines and so many breeds of horses and so many types of people, and they all call into us and talk to them about their farms, and we get to share in their dreams with their farms, which is a wonderful thing to be able to do. You're so excited to see their pictures and to share in their happiness with what they do with their farms and their fences.
And not just the United States, we've had some international sales as well.
Right.
Our international is really picking up, which is so exciting.
Your dad does a lot in international, so yeah, it's truly family, owned and
right.
worked, and
That's right.
we call it our Rammily.
So your dad and your husband Paul does international, and your Uncle Mikey, your brother Mikey, does the stalls next door with the manufacturing and oversees all of that.
Do you guys get the family tree line at this point?
So, yeah.
And Mindy my sister lives right on the property here with her 3 kids, which is wonderful. They get to come down and see the horses, and
It's a family affair.
they've done some of the podcasts with us, and they are, always make sure that the animals are taken care of. They don't take care of them themselves, but they will let us know, and they get to go out and pet the animals and stuff, so it's fun.
They're on our social media often. You might see Anna doing the rundown of the day.
And we have sheep here now too that Anna likes to go see. All the animals that the kids like to come and see, the horses and the sheep and
the
chickens.
sheep was a big surprise. We had been planning that for a while.
Yeah.
And got all the fence up. And
a sheep shed.
Our friend Faye Loeffler, who had the sheep, she was on one of our podcasts as well too, and she's actually traveling, and so she asked if we would take her sheep on, and so yes, we did. We're so thrilled that she would give them to us. So sweet, and so we just love them dearly. So they're Faye's sheep, but they're our sheep too, and
they came with a
she
friend.
loves them. Yes, they did. They came with a little friend, one little chicken, Chikorita. And Chikorita is kind of the queen out there with the sheep. She loves to sleep with the sheep, actually sleep with them. So
we put the fence up, and all the employees were saying, "What is it? It's definitely."
They didn't
what
know.
did they think it was?
Well, we were taking our puppies out there, so we all call them puppies. They're dogs, but
I was saying it was a dog park.
Dog park, yes. And so we were taking them out there, and they were running around. They loved it for the little bit of time.
I put the fencing up, and they were like, "What is the fencing for?" We wouldn't tell them, so we took the dogs out there and let them run around, and then brought in a new little barn, a little shed.
Oh, we had taken the horses out at one point and said it was a new pasture.
We did. They were in the fence, and then got the shed, and then not long after that, then the sheep came with little Chikorita. So, which we've been so glad to have. Yeah.
Oh, we also, how did we forget this? Fat Bob.
Yes.
Oh, goodness. Oh. Fat Bob. Bob is our draft paint cross that we have. And we got Bob from Mary, which we had Bob at our previous farm, and everybody fell in love with Bob. Absolutely adored him. And he's a big horse, great big draft cross horse that pulls and also rides. And so we have Bob at the farm now too. Mary allowed us to be able to have Bob at our farm, and so he's with us now too.
Yeah. And then I'm trying to think where in the year we're at. I feel like we've skipped something.
No, I'm sure we have. We had
feel
a
like
lot
we
of things.
So much.
An email.
We've had so much. Oh, so we did. Kristen had received an email.
Just a general email into our email box, ram@ramfence.com, and I thought, well, I don't really know if this is real or not, but I'm going to go back and tell my mom. So we're in the podcast room. This is where our marketing room is, and I came back and I said, I think we just got an email possibly from Martha Stewart's assistant, and I said, I can't say her name, and her name is spelled in a way that I don't know how we would have said the name, but she did tell us how she says it. It's Sheepa. And she wrote to us, and I just was like, this isn't real, so I didn't get very excited.
It was her name, like the at marthastewart.com, and I just thought, no,
you
it's
know
not
how
real.
everything happens now. You just never know.
Yeah.
And so my mom was like, I'm going to write her back and see what happens. You know, we weren't sure. We were trying not to be excited about it, you know, so we...
Well, and you guys had watched Martha for years. I remember watching Martha.
Before your sister could even say Martha Stewart, she
Yeah.
was
I don't
saying
know how
Martha
you found
Stewart.
her. Yeah, you found her, and then you told me about her, but you found her somehow.
We
Martha
had her
Stewart.
shows recorded on VHS tapes.
Yes.
We would watch the Sesame Street
still
one
have
all the time.
Some of those VHS tapes with her recordings on them. Yeah, that was so. This has been a long time. So thinking of Martha
Years.
Stewart for us was it was a big deal.
Years.
We've purchased so many of her products. They're all throughout our homes.
Cookbooks, her books, magazines.
But do you have the homekeeping book, the one that she put out about everything about homekeeping? That's a big one. I have that one.
No, I don't. She's ahead of me.
Oh?
She is, I know. But I have her entertainment book. Do you have her entertainment book? You probably do. I have her entertainment book.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
anyways.
So you wrote back, and
I
then
wrote back,
Sheila
and
said that you needed.
they were interested in two of our products. She said that Martha had been looking at, she and Martha or whatever had looked at our website and found our stainless steel feeders, and also liked our mud management system that we had. And they had talked about purchasing some of them, and so we said, sure, we'll give you an estimate or whatever. And still giving her the estimate, not knowing if this was really, the case or whatever, we did.
And then you had a phone call with her, with Sheepa. I had a migraine that day, unfortunately, and could not be here for that phone call. And I really wanted to know if it was really real. So Gretchen, you and your dad and
So go
Baca
ahead.
were in that.
Well, she called us in, and we went in. She said, "Okay, she's calling me," or actually, you were calling her. And
Her assistant, Sheepa.
you dialed in, and she.
Did you even know how to say the name?
No, we had
No,
to
that
ask
was the
her.
first
we
thing
weren't
we
sure how
asked
to pronounce
her.
her name. We felt bad because it's spelled so differently. But yeah,
And she was like, I don't remember what she said. She said, like, went over kind of the general product details with
for
you.
purchasing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then she said, well, Martha would like to see you.
She's penciled you in. Yep.
They want to make sure that you can, like, see her when you come to visit. So
In New York.
like, these are the times, and so she's penciled you in. And you, like, could not speak for a second, and then just burst into tears. And you were like, she wants to see us. And
I
you
couldn't
just kept
believe it.
thanking her over and over and over again.
I don't even remember what I said.
And
That's why I
again,
tell you.
it was just penciled in,
Yeah.
so you're thinking, yes, we've talked to her assistant. They said that they would write blogs for us. We were shocked that
We
this
were
was
like,
going to
could
be
this
on a
happen?
blog.
Well,
Could this really happen?
And you were just talking to her and, like, thanking her. And meanwhile, my dad and I are over there just busting up laughing. We were trying so hard to be quiet, but we were just cracking up.
I didn't know what was going on. All I knew is that I could think of was that I can't imagine this because it was like a dream come true, because Kristen and I had talked about her for so long, for so many years, and watched so many of the things that she did. And she really is a part of our lives. I mean, Martha Stewart is literally, so many things in my home are Martha Stewart products. And the
We've
recipes.
done so many of the crafts that she did too.
Yes.
One of our friends, the wife of the people that make our fence, she did a rooster for us that Martha Stewart had done these really cool, what were they, like piñatas or something?
Yes.
And she did this.
Oh,
our friend
goodness,
followed what
beautiful.
Martha did, and so this
Oh,
has
my
been in our
goodness.
lives for years
A
and
long
years,
time.
a long time.
I remember doing
Long
the
time.
pumpkin carving from her magazine.
Oh, the pumpkins we
Yes.
did. Oh my goodness. We had never known that you could carve pumpkins like that. I think she was the first
And you have the
person
pumpkin
who ever
carving
saw-
set. I'm so
we
jealous
bought
of
the
that
Martha
still.
Stewart pumpkin.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Carving set. Yep.
So we get off the phone.
yes.
You were just,
A
at that
basket
point,
case.
you were a
kind
mess.
Of, yep. A mess. I couldn't talk.
You held it together decent through the rest. You kind of pulled yourself together and
was
finished out the
exhausted.
conversation. Then you hung up and you were a mess.
She
I was
does really well
exhausted.
with that,
Yeah.
getting through. Yeah.
I was so tired and so exhausted from just the thought of it. So.
And you didn't believe it. You didn't believe it was really going to
wasn't
happen.
Sure. No. So.
But the good thing is that your sister, my daughter, was in school in New York.
Right.
So we thought, well, we'll just plan the trip, and if it doesn't happen, at least
We'll go to New York and see
your
Ida.
grandma would get to see, her grandma Baca is what
And
we
go
call
to New
you.
York. Never
Go to
been
New
there.
York, never been there.
Never
And so
been.
it's not a loss. I mean, it's not anything. So we're just thinking we're going to go visit Ida, if all else fails, because you don't want to get your hopes up for something that you think isn't going
And
to
Kristen
happen.
had been there before, and you had talked to some of the people at Manhattan Saddlery, Shelby, and we were talking about doing a podcast with Shelby, so we were like, okay, we can go maybe see them or whatever when we were there. So.
And here's the thing, not knowing how to get to, I've been to New York, but I've never traveled by, subways I've done, but minimal, and not knowing how to get out of New York City, where they were telling us, so your sister's in New York, she's telling us where to stay. She said, do not stay near, the area. You need to stay in the city. It's so simple. You just take a train. And I'm like, no, this is not so simple.
No.
But we actually ended up, I think that was the biggest thing, Ubering to,
from Manhattan, correct? Or from Midtown? I don't know.
Yeah, Midtown.
Yep, Midtown
to her place.
Katona.
And
Bedford.
and we were just like, we were in disbelief, like, this is really happening,
Yeah.
And
I think in the car we were like,
I still can't even almost talk about it because it was
I
so
can't-
crazy.
I couldn't think or talk. We're like, we're going to Martha Stewart's, and it's like, no, we're not. Yes, we are. No,
And
we're
we
not.
were met by Jason, who I know I've
Oh.
seen in her magazines
Jason
before.
was at the front.
So kind.
So sweet to us. So welcoming.
Yeah.
Very, very welcoming. Very kind. Just gracious.
And then
Yes.
you went up to her house.
Sarah was there. Then
Sarah, the
Sarah's
farm
her
manager, met us, and she started to walk us around. We actually got to go through her greenhouse.
I would have killed to see that.
Yeah,
it was
it's beautiful. She loves the plants. It's just incredible. And so
Just like in her
we were just
magazines.
taking, and we knew that it was just a small tour that we would probably get to go say hi to her, and then get to go see where our
Leave.
feeders were, and that was
go.
it. We knew it was a very short little. We had a window of time, and we walked up to the house, and she said, "Oh, Martha's just in there," and we were like, "Okay, we're probably just it's a meet and greet, kind of a thing." And we walk in, and
There's a door. We walk in the back side of the house, and I
Enter
was
her-
like, okay, we're going in her house or in this house, whatever it is, and
oh, she has multiple buildings all over, but you knew this was the house. And we enter into her kitchen, and she's pouring flour into her canister, and we're like,
it's Martha Stewart.
"Hi."
Hi, how are you? She's just talking to people. There were a couple of people there and talking to Sarah.
And so Sarah was like, "Let me take your coats, and you can keep your shoes here." And we're like, "Take our coats?" Like we're coming into the kitchen. Like think we're still in disbelief.
Right,
And
that we were
Martha
there.
says to us, she said, as we're taking our coats off and our shoes, would you like a cappuccino? I've been waiting to have a cappuccino with you.
And I could not talk. So thank goodness Kristen was there.
And I said, yes, of course. Of course we would. I really don't, honestly, I felt like I was going to fall over. My jaw did drop, and she just kept going. She was so kind.
Very, very kind.
Very personable, very easy to talk to.
We felt like we just stepped into like a family member's kitchen, and she just went about her things, and
She was making brioche. She said, I never buy brioche. I always make my own. So you could see it. It was setting up on, one of her ovens, and it was rising. And then she went over and she made the cappuccinos for us. She did.
it was just unbelievable.
And she used, like she said, Amish milk, which we say Amish here. So she said Amish milk, and that's what makes your cappuccino so good. So that was one thing that she did that was really, we sat down and we all sat there and talked, and she asked if we had our catalog, and we brought our catalog. We brought some samples. She really loved the race line and the shock line. She thought that was a really nice product that she liked. She was so kind about our products, and she's really, this is not something that she just did for us. She does this for a lot of small businesses that she buys through. She wants to meet them, and she really loves to help them, is what they told us. And I thought this was just the nicest thing.
She was very kind. She gave us such kind compliments and said that we had quality products, and it just really was wonderful to be able to hear it from her that she said that.
And they had written blog post for us, which we didn't expect.
No, a very kind blog post about the feeders that they have up so far.
And so after we drank our cappuccinos, we were going to be heading out to the barn, and Sarah went out to get her clothing on because she had, major barn clothes on. It was cold out when we were there. And Martha said, "Just wait, I'm going to show them the trees." And so she took us through her house and showed us her trees.
Christmas trees.
In different rooms. And the birds that we saw, I remember reading that
Sweet
exact
birds.
article about her office and how she had put birds on either side. And
Beautiful. Just lovely.
Yes. And she's so sweet with them. She just talked to them.
Oh, she is so sweet. You talk about people who love their animals. You could tell she was just so sweet with them. Talk to them.
Oh, she was so busy too. She had a Christmas party coming up. She was going to be getting ready to make all of her gingerbread. Yes. She had eggs out in large pottery bowls.
Yes.
And it said, do not use. She said, "I only use these eggs for my eggnog," which were from her chickens. And there was a big egg in there, and I said, "Well, what is the big egg?" She goes, "Well, that's for my peacock, and they're not supposed to be laying right now." So she had a peacock egg in there, and then we went out, and that was really supposed to be it. And she said, "I'm going to come out with you." So she came out with us, and we got to tour the barn.
And you got to see her Frisians.
Oh my goodness, they're beautiful.
Her barn is gorgeous. It's a stone area. It's a stone barn with like a cobblestone walkway all around the fronts of the buildings. There's a carriage house, and then beautiful doors that you walk through, and we walk in and we see her beautiful big Frisian and cross ties. And the other girl that also works in the barn was brushing the horses, and then Sarah and Martha then came out after that and talked to us about the barn.
We got a nice tour of the barn. She showed us her office. They have a kitchen out in their barn. They do holiday get-togethers there sometimes, or just get-togethers at different times where they have a kitchen there. And it was just neat to see how, and it's not anything huge either. It's just the right size. There's not an indoor riding arena. She rides 1 to 2 times a week if she can.
She said she just likes to trail ride.
Yep.
She doesn't need an indoor. She trail rides. And
their views.
I was going to say her barn, and on the inside, we've seen pictures in her magazines. It's just literally what you see in the magazines.
Does she ride English or Western? Did you find out?
She had English saddles that I saw in her tack room.
That's really exciting.
They have what I thought was a really neat element to the barn is when you looked up, there was a netting, and it wasn't like obtrusive or anything. It was just very just nice. And I think you had asked, what is the netting there for? Well, it's where they store all of their hay up above, and the netting was up there so that the birds cannot get in. The birds cannot get in to, mess the hay up or anything, or, have any problems with the hay. So I thought that was a very nice thing that they had done. Something that we probably should look into doing. So.
And our feeders were there with her horses. The horses were eating from the feeders. The feeders were placed up higher for the Frisians and then lower for a little miniature donkey stall that she had. And they just looked so pretty with her stalls. It was just so wonderful to see the products there in her stalls with her there.
Yeah.
And we, finished the tour looking at her. She has chickens, and she had ducks there too?
Chickens and geese, and then her pheasants, like you talked about. And then we walked
peacocks.
down. Yeah, her peacocks, not pheasants. I'm sorry, peacocks. And then we walked out from the front of the barn, and she has beautiful, the bushes that are out there, the boxwood bushes, trees that are gorgeously, pruned, that are round. And you walk down this driveway, and you turn around and look back at the barn, and it's just beautiful. We have some photos of that. That was just gorgeous to look at our barn from the driveway area. And looked at some other also greenhouses where they do their vegetables.
Winter greenhouse.
Yes.
Where they have the vegetables that they grow for things that they do in the winter. And
her boxwoods, they were starting to cover them with the burlap, which was just beautiful. They said that they
which are hand sewn for each boxwood. I just saw that on Instagram the other day. They had it, and we saw the beginnings of when they were doing that. But everything is very much so, done the way that just everything's so nice. But everything's like not. I don't want to say it's not rustic, but it's natural.
It's very natural.
Her fencing is natural for her and
is.
what her property is.
She does try to, when she has the time. They were telling us that she loves to be out in the gardens and do things. You can tell that she's really a person who really is a hands-on person with what she does. The things that she does show us is all Martha that she does.
Yeah, she cares about every facet of everything that she does. I mean, she's very particular, and she's a very busy woman. I mean, she goes from thing to thing to thing, and they said gracious. She does not, sleep a lot. I mean, I heard that a long time ago when they were talking about, she slept maybe only 5 hours a night, and she's still about the same, and
big pace she keeps up with.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So when we left, we took a train back to the city because that was a little bit easier, taking a train, not having to worry about time schedules and things like that. And it's a neat ride. It's just a neat ride to go back into the city. And then we came into Grand Central Station, and I don't know if you've ever been to Grand Central Station, but it just, the first time I went, I almost cried. I mean, it's something that you see, in a lot of movies, and
architecture's gorgeous.
It's just beautiful,
lovely.
Yeah, and it was the same feeling that this being the second time I went in there, and there's just something so special about it. So
lots of people, lots of people,
and then we enjoyed New York for the rest of the time, and came back, and been keeping this a little bit of a secret. So,
yeah,
but
it's out.
Yeah, it's out now.
So that was definitely a highlight of this year. What are you guys looking forward to in the new year?
I think it was fun that we got to talk to Manhattan Saddlery as well, and be able to know that we'll be podcasting with them, and then looking at
they're in New York City. We were right there when it was one of the stops that we made while we were there.
Other people that they know, and that other people that we're talking to know, to bring to our podcasts and so forth. So hoping that we can do more projects and collaborations with other people, but our highlight will always be Martha Stewart. It really truly will be.
Yeah, it was pretty special.
It was very special.
All right. We hope you enjoyed listening to our podcast and encourage you to share with all your equestrian family and friends. You can tune into the Late Night Riders podcast show every Friday night. Each episode will be uploaded exclusively on YouTube, where you can subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with all of our latest shows. Do you have a topic you'd like to discuss? We want to hear from you. You may email us at podcast@rampfence.com, or feel free to leave a comment below. Thank you again for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.